Everybody, this is Shawna Odette from the Flying Cat Academy. Welcome to lesson number 87. In this lesson, we will begin a brand new syllable type. We'll introduce the student to vowel diphthongs. Let's begin by setting up the table. You'll need your top 160 sight word list, and if your student has finished the top 160 words, you can move on to the top 290 word list. You can find this on the flyingcatacademy.com website under the guided lessons section. Look for the second tab called Extra Resources. You'll need the sight word study method teacher instruction sheet, the sight word card pack for the student, some blank index cards for introducing new sight words, a highlighter, markers, and some pencils. For the phonemic awareness drill, you'll need the teacher instruction sheet and the colored tiles for the student. For the visual drill and auditory drill, you need the instruction sheets and the card pack. For the syllable card drill, you'll have to have this one cut out and ready to go on the table. Those eyes will get schwad in that drill today. For the magnetic letter tile drill for reading and spelling, you'll need the teacher instruction sheets and the cookie sheet with the letters spread in a rainbow shape. For the syllable pounding sheet, you'll need the teacher instruction sheet, the new phoneme grapheme kinesthetic discovery sheet, and the sheets for the lesson. When we introduce our first two vowel diphthongs, we'll have a sort for this one, so you'll have the AU-AW sort ready to go on the table. And in addition to all of that, you might have a timer on the table. You'll need this if you've introduced the fluency element, which you probably have done by now. And you'll need to add a secondary program to do this, such as Read Naturally or the 6-minute reading solution. And it really is important to introduce this element when the student is ready, because we want them to be able to read with speed. Let's do the sight word study method. Student, you're going to need your sight word card pack for this one. I'd like you to read through every word in your sight word pack. After you read a word correctly, you'll put a check mark in the corner of the card. After you finish reading all the words, you'll give the card pack to your teacher, and then it's your teacher's turn to read. Your teacher reads through each card, and you will write each word down on a piece of paper. When you write one correctly, you'll put a check mark in the other corner of the card. When you finish, it's time for a quick discussion about which of those words has been mastered. Mastered words will be removed from the card pack, and this leaves space so that you can introduce a new sight word. Let's do the phonemic awareness drill. You'll need your colored tiles for this one today. Your sound is Can you repeat that sound? Now find a tile and put it down. The next sound is Can you repeat that sound? Put a tile after to represent The third sound is T. Can you repeat that sound? Now find a tile, put it down right after the Now tap the whole thing and say it. What's your word? Did you say met? I met him at the train station. If you did, that's right. Now, can you find the in met? I would like you to change the in met to an E. Now tap it, say it. Did you say your word is meet? If you did, that's right. I will meet you at 4 o'clock. Okay, if that's meet, find the in meet. Change the into a f. And what's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you say feet? I will touch my feet. Okay, take away the t. And what are you left with? Tap it and say it. Did you say fee? I will pay the fee so that I can get my ticket. If you did, that's right. Now put a d. Can you say that sound? Put a d on the end of fee. And what's your new word? Tap and say it. And then change the E into an E. And what's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you say fed? He fed the little boy. If you did, that's right. Now find the E in fed and change the E into an A. Now tap it, say it. Did you say fad? When something's fashionable for a short time, it's called a fad. Okay, great work. You can put your towels away. Let's do the visual drill. Student, what sound does this one make? This one can say you. It's a vowel team, so two vowels go walking, and the first one does the talking. And you'll hear the whole thing in hue, as in it's a color. Often we just say the second part of this one, and we just say the oo part. Instead of saying you, we just say oo. And that happens in many words like true, blue. There's so many. Do. Yeah. Teacher, you can do about 6 to 8 flashcards in this way. Let's do the auditory drill. Student, you're going to need the card pack for this one. Your sound is E. Can you repeat that sound? Okay, now I'd like you to think of what graphemes, what symbols can make E. I can think of 5 that you know. So I'd like you to write down all those graphemes, all those symbols. And as you're writing them down, say E. And then when you're finished, underline them and say E again. And then we'll check your work. Did you say this vowel team, EE? And you could say EA, which is another vowel team, or EY is another vowel team that says E. You could say just the letter E, or you could say Y. Y at the end of a multisyllable word like baby, funny, says E. Okay, teacher, you can do about 6 to 8 flashcards in this way. Well, it's time for the syllable card drill. We are creating 3 syllable words today, big ones. So you'll read down all the columns and all the syllables in column number 1, then all the syllables in column number 2, and all the syllables in column number 3, and then you'll read across the rows making nonsense words. And finally, it's time to unscramble things. I like to keep column number 1 as it is and just unscramble the other columns. And teacher, if you see that there is, like this is just too much, then you could make it simpler by unscrambling a few of the words and having the student just read the word, and that'll just give them less to work with. Yeah, so do that now and then come back to me. Do some syllable pounding. Student, you're listening for vowel sounds, and you count the vowel sounds and each one equals a syllable. Your word is really. Can you say that? It was really fun. Okay, how many syllables are in really? Put your hand under your chin and say really, and then count your syllables. Did you say there's 2? If you did, that's right. How about this one? Lee. Can you say that? Okay, how many vowel sounds do you hear in that? How many syllables? I might stretch my arm out and hit my arm and pound my fingers out for every syllable that I hear. Well, I hear 1. I hear the E, Lee. How about this one? Carefully. How many syllables? I hear 3 in that one. Carefully. Yep. Okay, how about this? Est. Not a word on its own, but it's definitely a suffix. Big est, right? Est. I hear 1. I hear the ed sound, the short E sound. Okay, try this one. Unheated. How many syllables? Unheated. I hear 3. Okay, I'd like you to grab your Scooping Syllables worksheet, and teacher, you've got an eye on the time so you know how many words can get completed. And student, as you're working through the words, I'd like you to discuss your thinking with your teacher. Now we're going to practice adding different suffixes to different syllable types, bases of different syllable types. You'll need, there's 2 sheets, and this is the first one. It says at the top, adding suffix endings. And what we do is we pick a closed syllable here, could be a real one or a nonsense word, and we put the word over here. The base goes over here, and then we apply the rule for closed syllables, which is the 1-1-1 rule. And if we get 3 check marks, we know that the rule kicks in, and we double the M in mommy, for example. For the 2-1-1 rule, this is another closed syllable rule, and it's for when we have 2 syllable words and the second syllable is a closed syllable. Begin. This is the one where we have to apply the rule, and the special thing is we have to figure out, is the accent on the first syllable or the second? If the accent is on the closed syllable, the second syllable, then the rule kicks in for the doubling. So if I was calling begin to dinner, I'd say begin, and I can hear that gin is loud and long, so that's the stress side. So that's the trick there. And for each syllable type, there's one great spelling rule that kicks in. With open syllables, it's the great rule of Y. With vowel, consonant, silent E, we drop the E and add the ending. And so with these worksheets, what we're trying to do is get you to be the master of suffixes by recognizing what type of syllable the base is and applying the correct great rule. Teacher, the student probably won't have time to work through the whole sheet, so you can just try to pick one per syllable type, and that would be sufficient. And you can even assign some of this for homework if you'd like. Let's move into the new content part of the lesson. And we'll start with what we know. Student, you've become a master of the vowel teams. Vowel teams are a syllable type where we have two vowels side by side in the word, and we say, well, you tell your teacher, what do we say? What's the little rule about these guys? We have a little story. We say two vowels go walking, and the first one does the talking. So what's that word? Tap it and say it. That word is boat. The sailboat went out for a sail. We love vowel teams because they're very predictable. We know that we will have two vowels side by side, and the first one will say its name, and the second one is silent. Today we're going to learn about a new syllable type, and it's called the vowel diphthong. This is a time where two vowels are side by side, just like vowel teams, but instead of following the rule that we know, and the first one does talking, in this case it's two vowels go walking, and they make a brand new sound. So it's not making the sound of the first one or the second one, it's making a brand new sound. So let's jump in, and could you grab your rule card, and I'll pull it up on the screen here, and let's show you the cases where we have vowels that are side by side making a brand new sound. So here's our first one. This is the AU vowel diphthong. Can you say that word? Diphthong. Say it now. Diphthong. Sometimes my students call this one the vowel weirdo syllable type because it's this unexpected sound that the vowels are making. So if you want to call it the vowel weirdo, you can, but just know that it truly is called the vowel diphthong. And for this one, we have A and U side by side. And instead of saying A like a vowel team word would, this says aw. Can you say that sound? Aw. Which is really odd because it's not related to the A, it's not related to the U, it's just this aw, an unexpected sound, and that's the essence of what a diphthong is. When two vowels go walking, they make this brand new sound. That's why on your rule card you'll see there's pictures of kids, and they've got all different kinds of instruments, and they're pounding on their instruments, and you know that the sound that comes out is going to be brand new and unexpected. So this says aw, and we have another one, AW, that makes the exact same sound. Two vowels go walking and make a brand new sound. You might be wondering, Shawna, you said two vowels go walking and make an unexpected sound. How is that true in this one? It's a W. Well, W can work as a vowel. Think of the actual name of it. Double U. It's doubling in for the U, isn't it? So that's why the AU is doing this and the AW is doing this. A lot of times when there's two sounds that are diphthongs that make the same sound and they have different spellings, it might mean that, AW will use at the end of a word, whereas AU will never find. So if you can't use U at the end of the word AU, AW will come in, and that's where you'll find it often. Yeah, so let's look at some other ones as well. Here's another set that make the same sound. We have, there it is, OI and OY, and they say oi, like in toy or boil. Can you say that? Oi. So it's not an O sound, it's not an I sound, it's the brand new sound, oi. Okay, and if we just look at your sheet now, we have OO, which can make ooh as in boo, or as in book. We have OU that can make you, or it can make ooh as in youth group. We have OW, which you've learned about as vowel team, right? You learned that it can make O as in bow, but it can also make ow as in bow. And then we have IE. If IE was a vowel team, we'd expect it to say I, but it's actually saying E in peace and field. And then we have EW, which is not saying E, not saying W, it's saying ooh. And then we have EA, which we have seen in a vowel team. And in a vowel team, it says E, and we're very happy with that. But we have to know that it can act as a diphthong as well and make an unexpected sound. And it'll make a break, or it could even say like breakfast. So that's all the vowel diphthongs that we're going to cover in this unit. and we're going to begin with our first two teams today. Let's look at our first vowel diphthong. This one is AU. The sound of AU is aw. Can you say that? If you're having trouble, think, aw, shucks. So say that, aw, shucks. That's the sound, aw. Now you know this sound already because it's the same sound of the short O in olive. Okay, and there's another way to make aw as well. And that's with AW. So say the sound again. AW makes aw. Say the sound. And let's say the definition of the vowel diphthong. When two vowels go walking, they make a brand new sound. Say that now. We're going to work on understanding this aw sound that's made by AU and AW. And we've got a sort on the table to help us do this. There are headings for AU, is it at the beginning of the word or the middle? And AW, is it at the beginning, middle, or end of the word? And there are little cards that your teacher's got on the table, and I'd like you to tap it and say the card. So in this case, it would be p, a, paw. And then I want you to place it under the correct heading. So that's AW at the end of a word. And then go on to your next card. We'll tap it and say it. S, a, s, sauce. And I see that AU is in the middle of a word. So I'm going to put it under the right heading, AU in the middle. And we're going to keep going, and we're looking for patterns in the word. Where can we usually find the AWs? Where can we usually find the AUs? And what spelling patterns are really common? So that you can identify, if I know that AULT is a common pattern, then I know I won't be putting the alt words, the alt word families. I'll know where to put them. Is it AU or AW? Okay, so do that sort now. So I'm hoping that you and your teacher had a quick discussion about what you learned about when you put the AUs and AWs under the correct headings. Did you notice that AW is used at the end of words? AU is not. So that's a great thing to know. If you hear aw at the end of a word, you're going to spell it AW. What's this word? Tap it and say it. Right. It's law. If I add a consonant, now I've got a situation where I've got aw in the middle of a word. Can you tap it and say it? That word is lawn. I watered the lawn. We know that AU can be in the middle of a word, and so can AW. So it really helps if we know the common patterns that are used. And AWN is a really common pattern. Fawn, lawn. There's lots and lots of words that dawn. There's lots of words that have the AWN. So that's a good thing to know. Another thing that's useful to know is this. When do you use AW at the start of a word? And when do you use AU at the start of a word? And the AW ones, it's pretty rare. I can only think of 3 words where it happens. And they all relate to the same idea. So this is a silent E on this word. So how would you read this word? This word is aw. What does it mean to have aw? Well, I did a little research on this one. And what I found out was that this word originally meant being worthy of respect, something that commands your respect even to the point where you might fear it. And then eventually over time, it became something that you dreaded, something that was seen as being terrible. And so think about, let's put it in a sentence, I felt great awe when the flood came into my town. It's something that's really impressive, but in a terrible way. So awe is something that kind of gives you pause. We have awe, and then we also know, if you look on your AW at the beginning, the 3 words that are there, we have awe, awful, and awesome. So what does it mean to be awful? Well, full of awe. It's a terrible way, but you're full of awe, right? Full of this wonder, this terrible wonder. And then when something's great, we now call it awesome. So it's full of like this. So that one actually has a really good connotation, doesn't it? So I think of awe as something that fills you with wonder in a really strong way. And it's almost like overpowering, and it can be good, awesome, or it can be negative, awful. Yeah, so if it relates to that idea of awe, being wonder, you'll spell it A-W. And any other time that you hear awe at the start of the word, it'll be A-U, like auction, auto, autumn. Yeah. Another common pattern that you might have noticed is A-U-L. Can you tap and say that? That's all. And that would happen in, I'm thinking of the ones on your list. Fault was one of them. Here's another one. Rhymes with fault. That one is vault. I put the money in a bank vault. Yeah, so these are not, they're not absolute rules that you'll always have AUL, but that is a common pattern that it'll be AUL. Let's work on AW, AU and AW, by doing the magnetic letter tile drill for reading. You'll need your cookie sheet with your letters spread in a rainbow shape. Your sound is, can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Your sound is aw. Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile or tiles and pull them to the middle. Your sound is oh. Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Make any changes that you think you have to make. Look for the patterns that we talked about. Do you see any of the common patterns? Okay, and tap it and say it. Did you say this word was haul? The truck will haul the trailer? If you did, that's right. And did you spell it H-A-U-L? If you did, that's correct. This is that common spelling like in vault and fault, that A-U-L pattern we talked about. Okay, put those tiles back and let's try a new word. Your sound is D. Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Your sound is ah. Can you repeat that sound? Find the correct tile or tiles and pull them to the middle. Your sound is n. Can you repeat that sound? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Now look for common spelling patterns and think about any changes that you might have to make there, and tap it and say it. Did you say this word was dawn? The sun rises at dawn? If you did, that's right. And this one will be D-A-U-N. That A-U-N is a really common pattern. Lawn, dawn, fawn. Yeah. Okay, you can put those tiles back. And teacher, if you have time, you can do more words in this way. And if not, then you'll move on to the single word list, then the short story, and then the fluency element. Now let's do the magnetic letter tile drill for spelling. You'll need your cookie sheet with your letters spread in a rainbow shape. Student, your word is law. Can you repeat that word? I might say a lawyer has to study law. Okay, what's the first sound that you hear in law? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the next sound that you hear in law? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Now tap it and say it. Okay, did you spell this one L-A-W? If you did, that's right. When we hear aw at the end of a word, we know we're going to use A-W. All right, try this one. Put those tiles back and let's try a new word. Your word is claw. Can you repeat that word? I might say the cat had long claws. Claw. What's the first sound that you hear in the word claw? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the next sound that you hear in claw? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. And what's the last sound that you hear in claw? Find the correct tile or tiles and pull them to the middle. Now tap it and say it. Did you spell this one C-L-A-W? If you did, that's right. When you hear the aw sound, you're going to use A-W when you hear the sound at the end of the word. Okay, teacher, if you have time, you can do another word in this way. And if not, then student, grab a lined piece of paper and a pencil, and we're going to write some single words. Your word is straw. Can you repeat that word? I might say I used a straw when I drank my drink. Okay. Tap that one first. So tap out the sounds and say the sounds as you do it. And then say the whole word and then write it down. And now let's check. Did you spell this one S-T-R-A-W? If you did, that's right. Okay, here's your next one. Draw. Can you repeat that word? I will draw a picture. Now tap it, say it, and write it down. Okay, and we'll check it. Did you spell this one D-R-A-W? If you did, that's right. Okay, let's try this one. Fault. Can you repeat that word? It's not my fault. Okay, tap out the sounds. Say it as you do it. Say the whole word and write it down. Did you spell this one F-A-U-L? There's that A-U-L pattern. T. So F-A-U-L-T. That would be correct. Okay, teacher. You can read the 3 sentences, and the student will choose the 2 that will be written. Student, after you write a sentence, could you please check your work with CHOPS? Quick review before you go. When it comes to vowel teams, we know that vowel teams are trustworthy. They're very reliable. What is the sentence that we say to remember the definition of a vowel team? Can you tell your teacher when 2 vowels? Okay, did you say when 2 vowels go walking, the E and the A are walking together in the word, the first one does the talking? And today we introduced a brand new syllable type. And it looks very similar, like it's a situation where we have 2 vowels side by side, but they don't act like vowel teams. These are called vowel diphthongs. Can you tell your teacher, instead of saying when 2 vowels go walking and the first one does the talking, what do we say for vowel diphthongs? In this one, 2 vowels go walking, and they make a brand new sound. So what is the sound made by AU and AW? They make the same sound. Can you tell your teacher now? And if you forget, you could say, remember that was how we remembered it? We said, oh, shucks. So the sound of these ones are aw. Okay, great work today. This is the end of Lesson 87. This is Shawna Odette from the Flying Cat Academy.